There is so much you can do about changing your story if you change your mind. I got super intentional about what I let in. Like I stopped watching things that caused anxiety because I quickly began to realize that the fear would almost double the symptoms. It started to click like, I don't know yet if I can do something about this tumor, but I'm pretty sure I can do something about this fear. And what if this fear is causing the whole thing? And when that fear finally went away, then my body began to heal.
Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Hello, everyone. Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. I am Leslie M. Thornton. Today we have Johanna White with us. Very special guest. She was just giving me the little preview I like before I have my guests come on to say what their intention is before we start the podcast. And I'm like super excited for this conversation. I know what I was going to say to you that I couldn't remember before, Johanna, but so I'll just say it right now because why not? We'll just free flow. So I have clients in my program right now who were given a life, like a diagnosis that they may not be here a year from now. And just first of all, the inspiration they bring to the community of the way that they're seeing life now and the way they're saying yes to themselves and doing things that they wouldn't have otherwise done if that didn't happen to them is, I don't even know if there's any words for it. It's beyond moving. And so I just know that your being here is going to make a big difference for them, because that's why I wanted to have you on, is because I know that you also had quite a diagnosis that caused quite a bit of pain and didn't know what the prognosis for yourself was going to be that changed your life. And here at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, we're all about knowing that you can heal yourself with your own mind using hypnosis and lots of other tools. So to have someone who actually can tell the tale and has walked the walk, I think is beyond powerful. So I just really appreciate your being here and your time so much. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored that you invited me on, and I hope that I can transmit even just a little bit of the faith and hope that I've grown into in this journey to your audience.
Thank you so much. It's amazing. First, if you wouldn't mind sharing, Johanna, like who you are, where you live, what you do, just so people get a little context. And then if you, maybe could jump right into, I know that you started doing what you're doing today kind of as the result of your diagnosis. So I'll let you take it away from there.
Sure thing. My name is Johanna White. I am based in the lovely little beach town of St. Joseph, Michigan. And I am a brand designer. I take people who are the best in the world at what they do and help them actually look as good as they are, so that they can magnetize their dream clients and opportunities and be as delightfully expensive as they deserve to be. So that is what I do. And although I had a degree in design and was doing that years ago when this diagnosis happened, I was not doing it nearly on this scale or in such a transformative way. I was playing small. I was working at an agency. And it was kind of like a design assembly line just get those ads out, get them through, get it passed. And it was a really negative environment, always surrounded by the sky is falling, like the design market is flooded. You're just lucky to have a job at all. The design market is crumbling with this shift to digital. That was right when everything was going from print to being online, and they thought that was going to be the end of design as we know it. And
Wow.
and like just constant negative, playing small, playing safe. And even outside of work, that kind of summed up my life. Playing it very, very safe, always in the middle. I never competed. I never wanted to be seen. I just wanted to feel safe and certain about what tomorrow held. And then
Sure, many people can relate to that. Everyone will say like, oh, she's calling me out right now. And then we're excited.
And then out of the blue, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I went from being insanely healthy on the outside, at least that we knew, had never even been to the doctor outside of getting my shots as a kid. I'd never broken anything, nothing. And I'm 25 years old, 24 maybe. And all of a sudden, I wake up one night at like 3 a.m. with this head pounding migraine that literally knocked me out of bed. Like, just felt my whole body was in shock. I just fell out of bed. And it lasted for several days. And then when it finally went away, and the whole time I tried to justify it, like, I've just been spending too much time in front of a screen. All of that kind of stuff, because I'm super healthy and I'm never sick and there's nothing, I don't smoke, I don't drink, like super healthy. And then when that went away, I was left with partial paralysis down my left side. And I couldn't raise my left arm very high. The muscles in my neck were atrophied. I was choking. Food was coming out of my nose instead of going down my throat. I could barely swallow. I could barely breathe. And I couldn't talk because my vocal cords were paralyzed too on the left side. I could just whisper. And so that started a journey of realizing and discovering that even though I had been living my whole life playing it small, playing it safe for the sake of certainty, that in reality, certainty was just an illusion. And there is a whole lot in life that happens that's totally outside of our control. And so that launched into a 2.5-year journey in the medical side of things, going from surgeon to surgeon to surgeon, having one say, I think we can help you. I think we can operate. And then them checking the charts again and saying, actually, because of where it's at, it's too risky. This type of surgery won't work. Let me send you to another surgeon. And the visits would be like 6 months apart. You think when they say brain tumor and the doctor says, and you ask, am I going to die? And they say, we don't know. And the results are inconclusive. You think it'll be like emergency, like the show, like the show House, where that doctor is not sleeping until he figures out exactly what's wrong with you. But it turns out doctors are human too. And it also turns out that tumors are kind of like snowflakes. They're very unique, almost everyone. And they oftentimes, like, you can't tell because of one that happened to someone else what this one is. I didn't know that. So I went from living a really safe life to everything turned upside down, and began this long journey of, we don't know. The results are inconclusive. Anything could happen. It could be cancers. It could be benign. Like, we did a brain biopsy. Still can't tell. The results are inconclusive. And so that was happening on the medical side of things. But what was happening under the surface is where the real story lies, and where I think really ties into what you teach and what your guests teach. And so what happened was, like, maybe 2 weeks max after the diagnosis, it was just a complete wake-up call. I was sitting in this dingy office with these people that I hated and who
Mhm.
didn't like me all that much either, with yet another project just carelessly tossed into my desk, like, stay after hours and do this one too. And I looked around and I went, oh, hell no. Like,
Mhm.
I am not going out like this. If I don't know how much time I have left, I should be spending it doing work that matters, or being with my family, or being with my friends. And I know that I am capable of so much more than I am currently doing. And if I don't know how much time I have left, I have got nothing to lose and I am going to go for it now. It's now or never. So I literally walked out of the office and started knocking on doors as I walked down the street. Like, I went by all these different businesses, knocked on their doors. If someone was there, I'd introduce myself and I'm like, hi, I'm Johanna. I design stuff. Do you need stuff designed?
Nice. Yes.
Thankfully, Designed by Joe has come a really long way since then. But that, like, I had urgency and I had this sudden, like, I've got to try, because I don't know how many more chances I get to try. And like, there's nothing left to be afraid of. And so I started actually 3 companies in that first year after I was diagnosed. And I, people told me, Johanna, you should quit your job, but you should do it to go on Medicaid so that Social Security will cover your expenses, because this could be anywhere from 100,000 to $1 million in, like, brain surgery bills. You don't know
Mhm.
what's coming down the pipe. And that was the other thing. That was like, I had played my whole life very safe financially. I was never in debt. I I paid
Mhm.
off college within 6 months of graduating, and I waited to do all of the things because it was like, I'm gonna wait until I earn my right, and then I earn all this money, and then maybe I'll do things like buy the motorcycle that I've always wanted, or do this. And then all of a sudden, I got flooded with medical bills with no end in sight, and I went, I may be in debt for the rest of my life. I don't know. I'm not waiting anymore. So I went out and I bought the motorcycle.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
time to live now. But
Yeah, and I'll
so
pause you for a second because I think what you're pointing to is freaking awesome and so pertinent to just everything that I do. As a coach, something that I see all the time with clients is that most human beings live their lives in someday, one day, right? Even in neurolinguistic program, we talk and I teach about different values levels. I literally had a woman who I talked to earlier this week, and she was Christian, and she was saying how, I'm really sorry. It goes against my Christian values to ever go in debt. I know I need this program. I know it would change my life. And I totally respect it. Right. And it's like Johanna got the push, right? She got like the big push. But what I communicate to people when they have that is like, I totally respect and appreciate that. Just want to ask you the question though, like, do you think it's possible that your belief about debt, and what that means about you, if you were to step into that for something that's going to change the rest of your life forever, is the thing holding you back from you and your family, like having the life that you really want to have? Like, right? Versus staying and playing it safe. Values level 4 in neurolinguistic programming are people that they sacrifice today so that they can benefit either end of life or tomorrow. Right. So it sounds like Johanna was living in like a values level 4 world. And then the universe is like, this girl's got big work to do here. We're going to give her a freaking kick in the head, literally, terrible kick in the head, to get her into values level 5, which is entrepreneurial and more like risk taking and these types of things. The other thing that I thought of when you were sharing was, a reason why I started this business was because I was so impacted working as a nurse in the hospital, seeing people who are my age, a little bit older, on their deathbeds, saying to me, Leslie, if I knew my life was going to be this short, I would have done so many things different with my days. And so I hear people who they'll be telling me how long they've been struggling with food, how miserable they are with X, Y, and Z. Like they look good on paper, they're doing well in their jobs, but they're right internally suffering. And then they're like, they, hear the cost and they're like, no, and it's just like, I get that it might be more than you're thinking. And do you think that if you keep going on the path that you're on right now, that you may be more miserable, more unhappy, more unhealthy, right, than when you are right now? Like if you're in the hospital 30 years from now because you didn't tackle this and you have, diabetes or whatever else comes with it, will it be worth this money then? It's like you're going to pay for it now, or you're going to pay for it later when you don't have your health. So why don't we do this now? So I love that you got forced into the now. It's so inspiring. And I'm so sorry that happened to you, though. It must have been terrible.
It was terrifying. But
yeah, you said that the headaches continued, right? When I had talked to you in the past, like it was like debilitating. And when did that start after the diagnosis?
So the headaches and the paralysis is how we found the tumor.
Right.
And it was like just enough intermittent. It would come and go just enough, the headaches, that I could still work, which is why I decided to start a company instead of just quitting my job and going on Social Security. Because I knew that if this healed, then 2 or 3 years down the road, I would be physically better, but mentally and emotionally, I would still be that same victim, playing it small person, only that much farther behind in what was possible. And I also needed to have something to focus on besides just what was happening in my body. I needed to know because I said there would be a future Johanna, and that she was going to be a badass, and she was going to be living up to her potential. And I had to start being her now. Like I knew that if I just waited,
amazing.
I would be.
Yes. Like that is legitimately, like you were 24, 25 and you had that, like, how did you have that kind of insight? Did you have like a rock star dad, like business person, or like, how did Johanna become that way to know that? It's brilliant.
No, in fact, if I look at my life and my upbringing, it was very middle class, Midwest. Again, like we were on the Republican health care plan, which was don't get sick because we don't have insurance.
Sick.
Like, and I had no business training, none of this stuff. So when I quit and started Design by Jo, I learned on the street. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 4-Hour Workweek, and decided that was enough. I was not going back to college for a third time to get a business degree. I was just going to learn as I went, learn the hard way. But I learned all of those things, that the mindset stuff, which I can't wait to get into here in a second, because there's like a third layer to this story that's the very best part of all of it. But and that's where the healing happened. But all of the mindset stuff that now I have the books and the coaches and the resources to read about, I learned just because of this journey. Like these were just revelations and discoveries that came to me. Now I read them in books like Joe Dispenza, and I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. Wow. I know that's true because that's what happened to me. And so I read them, and instead of learning it, it just reaffirms like, yeah, yep, that's exactly it. Like Abraham Hicks and the, okay, what's that book? Shoot. You know the one I'm talking about?
Not Byron Katie.
No, the work is
what
good.
Is, but okay.
No, I'll think of it later and we can put it in your show notes. But
or Louise Hay has a healing one too. But anyway, okay.
You Can Heal Your Life, another good one. But also I didn't read that until like last year. And so all of these books and resources and things came into my life after I had gone through all of this, which in one way it was a gift. I had to learn through the struggle. And so now I read them and they just confirm, and I don't have to read it and go, is that true? Maybe, I don't know. Like, I know it's true because it happened to me. But everything that I knew and leaned on just came from my faith in God. And I got one more kick in the pants right after the diagnosis. It was the very best kind, though. So the day after I was diagnosed, my dad called his best friend, who is a chiropractor and very into holistic healing type of things. But above all, he's just a very black and white Christian. Like, if the Bible says that, he believes it to the extent that he can make you want to punch him in the face sometimes. But but also the things that he say you can receive, because he just shows love so well, and you know that that's what he's saying it. And in this case, he showed up on my porch and gave me a brand new little iPad mini, preloaded with the Olive Tree Bible app and every verse he could find about healing. And he
Wow.
said, "This is tools for the battle. We're going to fight." And
Wow, that
he
just gave me the
challenged me.
chills. Mhm.
He
Mhm.
challenged me when I wanted to go, like, it's one day after I've been diagnosed, I want to go lick my wounds, cry a lot, tell everybody that I have a tumor and I'm probably dying and you should say your goodbyes, and, like, at least for a week or two, I just want to take this in. And he didn't let me. He said, "Johanna, you have said your entire life that you believe in God and you believe in healing, but you're not acting like it right now. And you're not talking like it right now. This is your chance to actually do something about what you say you believe." And I was
Wow.
mad, a little mad
Yeah, I
at
mean
him,
that. Mhm.
but I am so glad that he had the courage to say what needed to be said, because those words changed the course of my life. And I took him up on his challenge because I am gritty, if nothing else. And well, first I, put out all the yeah buts and the what abouts. Like, what about this person? I know they believed in healing and they're still sick. What about this person? They believed in healing and they had cancer and they died. And what about this? Like, what makes me different? Why should I try? I'm just going to get my hopes up. And then why would it work for me if it didn't work for them? And he basically just said, their story is not your story. You are the only one who can, like, have something to do about your story. And you need to stop looking and studying and looking for all the reasons why something won't work, because then you'll just believe it more. And what good will that do you? You need to look at nothing but these scriptures right now. And this verse here says Jesus healed every single person who asked, all who believed. And there's a verse that says, by his stripes we were healed. And like, the same way that people believe in salvation because he died on the cross, like that salvation is still for the taking. It's in the same verse that it talks about he died for our salvation and for our healing, meaning it was already paid for and it's already done. And everything that we need for it is already inside of our bodies. And
Wow. Oh my
but
God.
we can
Amazing.
choose to ignore it. We can choose not to tap into it, or we can choose to, as one of the favorite verses that I discovered along the way said, if you live by the flesh, you will die. Like the five senses, which you can see, taste, hear, smell, and feel. But if you by the spirit, what you can't see, but you know to be true, if you by the spirit put to death the misdeeds of the flesh, which I looked at that tumor and I was like, oh, that's a misdeed. That's not meant to be here. That's not meant to be in my perfect body. That is not for me. But if you by the spirit put to death the misdeeds of the flesh, you will live. And it just kind of clicked, like, I get to choose. Okay, then I choose life. And so I started, like, I still had all of these symptoms, and it's super discouraging when what you see in your body is not reflecting what you're trying really hard to believe. And it's like, sure, I can say that I'm healed all day long, but I see and everybody else sees. But I would just go, nope, it doesn't matter what I see right now. I'm just going to speak out what I know to be true. And so I would find every verse on healing and I would just read them out loud. Like, my head would start pounding. I would read them out loud. And if I couldn't do it, I'd call my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and he would do it, or my parents would do it, and they would just speak them over me. I got super intentional about what I let in. Like, I stopped watching things that caused anxiety because I quickly began to realize that the fear would almost double the symptoms. I'd go from could barely breathe to actually passed out on the bathroom floor because the anxiety would just like make everything so much worse. And when that happened, it started to click. Like, I don't know yet if I can do something about this tumor, but I'm pretty sure I can do something about this fear. And what if this fear is causing the whole thing? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. And so first
Mm,
I tried to just not be afraid. Well, that works real well. No, don't
mhm.
think about an elephant in a pink tutu. Well, all you can do is think about an elephant in a pink tutu. Don't think about a brain tumor. All you can do is think about a brain tumor. And in my head, it was like this hamster wheel of fear. You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. You're going to die. And it was always spinning while I was working or while I was talking to someone. Like if this was 8 years ago, we'd be talking. And in the back of my mind, I'm not focused on this conversation. I'm just thinking, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And my head's throbbing in pace with this. And so I started to realize I couldn't just not be afraid, but I could drown the fear out first and then kick it out later. So I just started putting in inputs. Like I would put my headphones in while I was working and I just play sermons on healing for 8 hours a day. And I didn't care who they were by. I didn't even really care what they said. As long as they said you can be healed, that was all I needed to know. And just letting it play in the background. And it
Kind of
slowly
like
started
hypnosis.
to,
Mhm,
yep.
mhm,
And it
mhm.
slowly started to overpower the fear. And as my
Wow.
mind relaxed into that, then I was able to take a look at the fear and go, what am I actually afraid of? Because sometimes you like fear feels like it comes out of nowhere. And most people would say, justifiably, Johanna, you were afraid. You had this life threatening brain tumor. Of course you were afraid. But I had been afraid my whole life. I
Wow.
had been anxious my whole life. I remember getting stomach ulcers in 4th grade because I was so anxious about math assignments. Like I didn't understand math. I was so anxious. I got ulcers. Like
Wow.
math is scary, but it's not that scary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and,
Mhm,
and I remember
mhm.
walking through the school's hallway almost late for class in high school. And the fear of being late would make my heart race and make me feel like I was going to throw up. And I'd have to pull over at a drinking fountain and get a drink so that I wouldn't throw up. Afraid of being late. Like, so I knew,
Yeah, so
even
this was
though
a
that,
greater fear than just the brain tumors, like really asking, what am I afraid of that's been
what am
happening
I
my whole
actually
entire life?
afraid of?
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so I dug into it and I realized as I sat there that I wasn't actually afraid of dying. I was afraid of having a lower quality of life, at least in this instance, and then not being happy. Like, what if this puts me in a wheelchair? Or what if this does this? Like, my whole life, I identified with only one thing, which was being really strong. That was like all I had going for me.
Mm,
I didn't have an amazing job. I didn't have an amazing home or an amazing life. I mean, I had a loving family, but in like materialistic things, not a lot going for me, but I was strong and active and, rode horses and did ballroom dancing and very
wow.
physically fit.
Yeah, so
And
if that
I
went
was
away, it's almost
afraid.
like your identity would have been taken
Uh-huh.
away. Like, and
Yeah.
then I'm
And with
a
it,
useless. Mhm.
exactly. And with it, my joy is what I thought. But then I started to realize as I would sit in those moments and my head was pounding and my body wasn't working like it should be, that I could choose joy anyway. And I would decide, I'm going to have a good time today. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to this baseball game with my friend and my boyfriend. And yes, my head is pounding and I don't understand why I haven't been healed yet, but I'm going to choose joy. And as I started to do that, I started to realize that joy, if I could just choose it no matter what, that would never change. And that there was nothing left to be afraid of. And that ability to choose joy became my antidote to uncertainty and to fear. Because, like, okay, if this persists, I will still choose joy. If I end up in a wheelchair, I can still choose joy. And
Nice.
like none of this has to affect my joy. So there's nothing left to fear. And when that fear finally went away, then my body began to heal. I kept doing like listening to Psalms on repeat while I slept, and listening to those sermons on healing and speaking out those verses. And slowly but surely, my body started to show it. Like it started to get better and better and better. Atrophied muscles that the doctors said those will be gone forever, even if you did surgery, that like nerve damage, permanent, they're done. They started to come back. And
Wow.
so I was
And I'll
like,
just pause for a second. It's almost like, and for other people, right? And it's like those doctors probably had the statistics or saw how when that would happen to other people, it did never come back. But it's like, to me, saying like the fear is the thing that's preventing the body from receiving the healing that you were committed to doing. So it's like, even if every other people were doing that same thing, if there was that underlying fear that also was there for them, probably since childhood for whatever reason, then like they can't actually let it in. Something else that I was thinking about, do you feel the same way? Like, does that like make sense to you? It's
I mean,
almost like
it
there's like this
certainly,
shield up where you couldn't,
yeah,
which is fantastic.
it
And something we
certainly
talk
made a
about,
big difference.
yeah, is how like a lot of people, when we do the work that we do at Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, it's like we need to feel the fear. We need to actually experience like, what is this? We need to look at it, you know? And
Uh-huh.
then once they can release that, then they can get the freedom and have clarity and peace of mind and all these types of things. And they'll be like, oh, I don't want to think, negative things, or I don't want to. And it's like, yes, but this anxiety is preventing any of the positive or the joy to actually infiltrate in. The other thing that came to me as you were sharing this part of the story was how just recently, I was reminded of a previous coach of mine who had said that, you actually don't need to keep going back into like childhood or whatever. She's like, you just need to become aware of the story that we have. Right. So it's like you became aware of this story of like, I'm nothing without my body, basically. Like I'm nothing without this strength.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like you wake up to that story and then you choose to walk out of it and step into a new story. And yours is like, I choose joy and I can be joyful regardless of my body or my strength, which is amazing. Okay, keep going. So cool.
Okay. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sum up what's happened in the journey to this point, it is that it was a combination of massive action, like not just believing something, but what you believe matters, but what you do about what you believe matters way more. But
Yes,
then at
thank you
the
for
end of that,
saying that. Yes.
after all of that doing, it still required massive surrender. Like doing all the action, and then I just had to let go of the outcome. Like that I had never worked with a coach. I'd never done any sort of hypnotherapy or any of this stuff, but still what I experienced was when the pain was really strong, I noticed that my focus went to that point, like this spot in my head. It would start throbbing and I could not seem to think about anything else. But if I could distract my mind, I would try to think about the other side of my head that didn't hurt or some other
Mhm.
part of my body, and the pain would lessen. And so then I started picturing just surrendering and going, okay, Lord, like I'm standing on faith, I'm believing in healing. But even if you don't heal me, even if this doesn't work, I still love you. And I would picture this altar in the woods, kind of like Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe stone table kind of scene.
Mhm. Love it.
And
Yes.
in my mind, I would just go and crawl onto that altar and just lay down and go, all right, Lord, in this moment, I surrender. And this happened a lot when I'd be in the car with friends and they're all talking and laughing and their life's going on. And it felt like mine was ending. And no matter what I was doing, it wasn't changing. And I would just have to go, it doesn't matter. I surrender. And in my mind, I'd go and I'd crawl on that altar and I just think about that instead. And the pain would start to lessen because my focus was on something
Mm,
besides the source of the problem. So I switched my
yes.
focus a lot. And ultimately I said, like, I'm going to do everything I know how to do. And then I'm just going to let it go. And
Mhm.
so I started to get better and better and better. Honestly, within the first like 8 months of the diagnosis, my body was probably 75 to 80% healed. Like everything was coming back. I could breathe and swallow mostly. Choking was much less. And I was doing really great. And so I went to this follow-up appointment where I was supposed to meet another surgeon who could maybe help me. And I was so confident that they were going to do this scan and they were going to find that it was smaller or gone because I knew I was being healed and the evidence was starting to show up. And I went to the appointment. They did the scan. They came out and they said, well, actually, we can't tell for sure because we used a different MRI machine, but we think it's the same or bigger. And here are the next like 5 symptoms you're probably going to experience. And like your jaw's going to push out and you're going to lose vision in your right eye because the left cranial nerve controls the right eye, and you're going to have like paralysis along your facial nerve and all of these things. And I went into that appointment full of faith and confident that like life was
We're on the
changing.
right track. Yeah.
And I left just completely crushed and cried all the way home, cried myself to sleep, woke up the next morning with all of my symptoms back, plus some new ones.
Wow.
And I went, what just happened?
Wow.
What just happened? And so I licked my wounds for a few more weeks and said, I'm not really healed. It doesn't work. This isn't true. And then I realized, like, what good does it do me to stay in that place? And what good does it do me to believe that this isn't working? Clearly it did. And I got here.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to do it again. So I started the
Nice. Oh
cycle
my
over,
God. Yes.
like just jumped back into it.
Unstoppability. Amazing. Yes.
Just
Mhm.
jumped back into it, started again. It happened much faster the second time. Like I knew what to say and what to do and how to speak. And I would tell people what the doctor said, but I wouldn't own it. So I'd say, like, the doctor said it's still there, or according to the scan, it was still there. But according to me and what I know to be true, and according to my body, it's done. And so I got
Yes.
like healed all over again. And then you would think that I would be done and I would just walk away from this and like accept and receive with gratitude the fact that now my body is functioning again. But I still wanted certainty above all else. And so I went back to the doctor again, to a
Mhm.
new surgeon. Maybe he can, like, if they do the scan and they say it's still there, well, maybe he'll be able to do something and help me. And finally, I'll be done. Like, I won't have to think about it anymore. Who cares if there's some risks involved with this surgery? It's just brain surgery and
Just
it's
brain
going to be
surgery.
fine.
Mhm.
Just brain
Mhm.
surgery. And so I go to this surgeon. He says it's the same or bigger, but it's not that big a deal for me. I've operated in that particular area many times. I'm just going to remove your ear, go in through your skull, and like chisel it away. It'll be a 10-hour surgery. It'll be done, minimal risks, maybe some nerve damage along your jaw. Come back in 3 months for the surgery. And now the same family and friends that at the beginning had been encouraging me to go to the doctor, even when I kind of didn't want to, like I just wanted to say, no, I believe in healing and I know this is happening. And well, now those same friends are going, Johanna, why are you going back to the doctor? Like, we can see you were right. You are healed. Why are you still
Mhm.
pursuing this? Because I want certainty. Like, I'm so tired of not knowing what my life holds. And I
Mhm.
don't want to think about brain tumors for the rest of my life. And I want to be able to prove that I'm better. Like, I don't want to be an imposter or a fraud, walk around telling people I'm healed, but the MRI back there says not. And So I went like 3 months later, went for this surgery. And at that point, my symptoms were 95% gone. There was occasional headaches. That was it. And I go
And were you
and
still doing as consistent work, or what did it? Okay, you were
I was
laying
still
it
doing
in.
consistent work, laying it on thick, still
Uh-huh.
battling the fear, because now every time I kind of leapt back into the ring with, well, I'm going to see if the doctors can help me, I'd have more fear and anxiety and conflict. Like, I kind of feel like I shouldn't be pursuing this route, but because I think in this instance, it's me not walking all the way into my faith. And like, I love doctors and they help a lot of people. But in
Mhm.
my case, I think I shouldn't have continued on that path. I was just doing it to make family feel like I wasn't giving up. I was just doing it for other people, not for me. And so I go 3 months after the appointment, go for the surgery. It's 5 a.m. Haven't slept in like 48 hours because I'm so anxious. Haven't eaten in 24. I'm hangry. And
Mhm.
they've got me all tubed and needled and my sticky socks on, and I'm on the table, and the anesthesiologist is there to knock me out. And the doctor comes strolling in with my MRIs, and he looks at it and he looks at me and says, I changed my mind. I'm not going to do this surgery. And I went, what?
Mhm.
There was yelling that happened, and those hospital curtains not super thick.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
those lovely nurses got to hear me screaming as this doctor basically tells me, yeah, I know I said it would be minimal risks, but actually, because of where it is, like I took a deeper look, and it would be potentially feeding tube for life or wheelchair for life if we miss even by the tiniest bit. And I won't do that to a healthy person. I can't do that to a healthy person. So unless your symptoms do that to you, like put you in a wheelchair, then we'll do something. But aside from that, like, we're not paying attention to MRIs. Your body says otherwise. We're not going to operate. So I was furious,
Damn.
of course, but now
Mhm.
I'm extremely thankful that he had the courage
Yes.
to risk his
Yes. Oh my God, it
reputation
gives me the chills. Yes.
and
Yes.
stand up for that. And the funny thing was, though, they wanted me to do a watch and wait, like come back every 6 months, still do an MRI, and then maybe someday they would decide they would do something about it. And I knew I couldn't. Like, my faith was growing and strengthening, but it couldn't quite handle that. I needed to do one final act of faith and say, nope, like you said, you don't care what the papers say. I shouldn't either. Plus, I can't keep coming back every 6 months, have the pants scared off of me, and have to start over and rebuild all of this faith. I'm
Yeah.
done. So that was
Mhm.
probably 5 years ago. And I have
Wow.
not been back. And the last of my symptoms have faded away into nothingness. All of
Wow.
my atrophied muscles came back stronger than ever. And I am a walking, talking daily miracle. I never got the certainty that I thought I needed, but I realized again, like, that's an illusion anyway. And if I didn't learn that lesson then, I sure learned it during COVID when the whole world spiraled into uncertainty and people were living in their homes in complete and total fear, like shutting down on life. And I just went, oh, I've been here. You'll
Uh-huh.
get you'll get through it. You'll learn that it was never that certain anyway. And that's
Mhm.
okay. Like, choose joy and spread the joy instead of spreading the fear, which just is debilitating and crippling and causes so many more problems. And so that kind of became my mission over the last few years within my business and without my business, is just always choosing joy and reasons for delight and like lifting up those around me. And my passion all those years ago to not leave this life having not even tried and to live up to my potential, I then planted that into my business and went, I'm going to help as many other people live up to theirs. And so that is why I'm so passionate about helping them create this brand for themselves, for their personal and for their business that is not just who they are now, but it captures their uniqueness and their most aspirational future self. And
Wow,
it helps them
awesome.
then level up to that person and live up to that now instead of in 5 years, because they see this, what they've been trying to communicate to the world for years, finally being told in a way that their customers understand. And they're like, well, shoot, now I got to live up to that. And it
Mhm.
turns out I
Mhm.
just saw the photos that you did for my website, and I am that person. Like, I thought maybe
Wow.
someday I could be that person, but it turns out I am that person now. And they go from maybe timid or frustrated, constantly having to oversell and over explain why they're worth it, to positioned in the market to show their highest value, worth it at any price. So I freaking love what I do.
Mhm.
And but it wouldn't have happened probably if I had not had this kick in the pants. I would have kept playing small. And um like another thing that happened along the way that made some shifts, and I think you'll love this and it will tie into what you teach. So feel free to stop me and pull it out. But I started changing why I did things. I started finding the real why and changing my motivation. So I used to work out hardcore. And like I said, I was very active. And, but if I did a workout, it was like CrossFit or something really pounding. I thought you had to do that in order to, for it to be a real workout. And then
Mhm.
when I got sick and my body started to atrophy, it was very frustrating. One, I was losing my identity as a strong person, but two, no matter what I did for a workout, it didn't work. Like it didn't affect change. And so I wanted to completely just quit, sit on the couch, eat Oreos and Doritos. Like if my body is just betraying me anyway, why bother working out? But then a really good friend tricked me into trying yoga. she knew she knew that I thought yoga was super boring and would never do it, but she tricked me by introducing me to acrobatic yoga, and I was like, that's just badass enough that I might try it. Which is like
Nice. Mhm.
partner lifting kind of Cirque du Soleil type of stuff.
Mhm.
And she did it because she knew that moving my body would make a huge difference for my mental state at the time. Um, and then she started sort of slowly elongating the warm up session before the acro yoga that was just regular, like vinyasa flow and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
I started to go, oh, that's not so bad. Yoga's kind of fun. And I started to realize that movement itself was a gift, not because of the outcome, but just because today I could still move. And the thought of maybe someday soon I might be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, I'm going to enjoy today. And I'm going to enjoy moving just because I can. Like every day that I can, I will until I can't anymore. And
Mhm.
it completely shifted. And I think that movement did start to help restore the muscles. I also had an amazing man in my life who's still in it, my ballroom dance instructor, who, like, during the time that I was sick, I wanted to quit dancing. And he's like, oh, no, 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 no. You're coming out here with me on the floor. He gave me a major discount on dance lessons during that time and said, whatever it takes, I'm here with you. You're gonna keep moving because this is my way to help you heal. And there's just so many people in my life that did little things like that. And I learned to go, wow, movement itself is a gift. Breath is a gift. Laughter is a gift. And I'm going to do it just because I can. And when the motivation changed, again, like then the healing started happening. And I
Wow,
think
that's amazing. When the
Yeah.
motivation changed, that's when the healing started to happen. Yeah, you were right. I could pull many things out of that. Yes. Yes. It's like when
Like,
people's motivation is weight loss only,
mhm,
ain't nothing good happening except more anxiety and stress eating. But when it's like, I am here and now and I have this body that works today. Yeah, maybe I don't like how much weight is on it, and maybe I don't move perfectly, and maybe I feel
yes,
embarrassed to put a bathing suit on, and maybe, but I'm here today. And so we got to do this now. And funny enough, when you live in the now and you start feeling grateful and motivated, then you start getting healthier
mhm.
because of
I
that.
used
Mhm.
I used to dread my birthdays. At age 24, I was already dreading aging. Like, I felt I'd gone to college twice already, didn't feel particularly successful. I felt behind. Like, I went the first time to train horses, which I've ridden my entire life, but it turned out turning that into my career just burnt me out very quickly. So I came home from that and went, well, I failed. And then I worked 3 years of construction installing floor covering, because that's what my dad did. And it was the only job I could get in my mental state of like, who cares? Life sucks. I failed. And it
Uh-huh.
took three years of doing work that I hated. Like, I absolutely loved my dad, but I hated getting up at 5 a.m. and cracking my hands with tile mud. And
Mhm.
took 3 years of that to finally hate it enough to try again. And I kind of went eeny, meeny, miny, mo. There's so many things I love to do. I can't possibly choose, but I picked design. Luckily, the second time got it really right, turning it into my career, just lit a fire under what I already loved. It didn't make it worse. But I was 22 and 23, then in college the second time with a bunch of 16 and, well, 17 and 18-year-olds. And I felt behind and like I didn't stay on campus and I felt old already. And then 2 weeks after I graduated from college the second time with all of these big dreams of I'm finally getting out of here. I'm going to like move to New York, work at a really big agency, climb my way up the ladder, do something with my life. That's when I got diagnosed, and then back to my parents' basement, home sweet home kind of thing.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
because I felt so behind and so mediocre about everything in my life, I dreaded my birthdays. I didn't want to get older. I felt like I was already past date and like the best years of your life for 21, 22. And then when this happened, all I wanted was to see another birthday. And
Yes.
I
Yes. I
realized
can
that
imagine.
aging and getting older is also a gift. And I
Wow.
had been not looking forward to it my whole life. And all of a sudden, I just wanted to see 25. And then I just wanted to see 26. And so now I celebrate my birthdays with actual excitement and joy, like, still alive.
Woo! Absolutely.
We made it
Can
another
only
year.
imagine. Wow.
And
I'm
and
sure you
that
just shifted
mindset
so
shift.
many people, because I know a fear of aging comes up for a lot of our listeners, right? And like, thank you for saying can start at even that young of an age,
Yeah.
and then to, again, another testament to like living in the now makes you grateful instead of anxious and dreading, which is amazing. I also loved how you pointed to your process, Johanna, of not only being just the hypnosis, right? Because every single month when I do my free healthy hypnosis hour, like I tell them specifically, I'm like, the hypnosis is amazing. It changes your life and you need to do the hard work. Like you need to face your fears. You need to feel the pain. You need to, right, get the mindset right. You need to do, and then you need to surrender, right? You need to let go of that
Mhm.
attachment of, right? In your case, one thing, in our case, like losing weight and how fast and what's my pant size
Uh-huh.
tomorrow, in order to get the full transformation and like get the gift that you have now, which is like the gift of life and gratitude. And it's freaking
Mhm.
amazing. Thank you so
And,
much for sharing your freaking story with us. It's fantastic. And like, I love that now, like you're giving people that through the work that you do. You're literally
I
giving them that same shift of the now by making them
Mhm.
their highest self now and to live from that vibration of joy now, because they have to, because they pay you all the money and then they have to, or else it's not worth their investment. Like, it's awesome and so wonderful. So I'm sure, if anyone has a business, I've seen Johanna's work. It's freaking awesome. It's beautiful. It's high vibe. It's so stellar. And like, you get to work, really close with this wonderful woman. So how can people find you? What's your website? Would love to know.
Yeah, my website is designbyjostudio.com. And that's J-O, because I'm a girl, if you hadn't noticed.
Nice. Love it. Yes.
And then on Facebook and Instagram, the handle is @designbyjostudio. And
Wow.
I would love to hear from you. It's like, send me an email, send me a message, tell me what you got out of this. Tell me your story, and maybe I can encourage you along the way. Like, I had one woman reach out to me after hearing my story, and she said she was 37 years old. She was working as a teacher. It was not the career that she wanted. She was a single mom. She was afraid. And everyone in her family line had died before the age of 40. She had a congenital heart condition. So she's 37, edging on what she thinks is death, and like wants to live her dreams, but she's got a child to support and all these things. And she and I just started talking, and I kind of got my burr under her saddle about, if not now, when. What do you possibly have to lose? But then also just reminding her not to take the doctor's word as the last word, and that if she kept living as if she was going to die, it was inevitable. But she didn't know that, and she had a chance to believe something different and do something different. And I heard from her a couple years ago. She's now like 43. She's working as a coach. She freaking loves her life. She's doing figure fitness competitions. The last check at the doctor, not a single sign of the heart defect. And like,
wow,
all because she learned then from me and from what I was doing, and going, okay, there is a chance, but I have to live like there's a chance. In fact, I have to risk looking crazy and live like it's a certainty. Live like that is my outcome. Like, this is not going to end my life. And we feel afraid of the stupidest things when we're sick. Sometimes, like, how many times have you gone to the doctor, maybe if you feel like that's not your path, rather than trying a holistic route, because family was worried about you and you didn't want to disappoint them? Or how many times have you like not spoken out what you want to manifest, because you don't want to look like a crazy person if it doesn't 100%. Work. Well, you know what? If I die,
if your willingness to get past that crazy person fear means you having the life you always dreamed of, and you're not dying because your soul is not doing what you came here to do, then you better change something. Yes.
Yeah.
I left that nursing job that I had, and it was terrifying, and I didn't know what was going to happen, but I felt like there was something bigger inside me that I had to share when I found out about this work. And, it's been a tremendous path of faith and fear, but moving past it, getting healthier every day. Right. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And it's just like, we get one life to live. If there's any chance of, what do people have to lose? And like, what I always tell people who are on that place is like, take it one fear at a time.
Yes.
It's like, okay, well, if I did leave my job, then how to get health insurance? Deal with that one first. If I do leave my job, how do I do retirement? Figure that out. If I do, and I literally still live my life one fear at a time. Like, well, this is in the way now. Now I have to do this is in the way. And it's like, but then you end up like continuing to grow, and it's just fantastic. Oh my God.
One fear at a time. And also, most decisions, except for death, are reversible. I wish someone had told me that when I was young. I was so petrified to even make a decision about, where do I go to college, or what do I do? What if I get it wrong? And it turns out I did. And that didn't kill me. I thought it would. But like, so many times we think I have to know everything about the whole journey for forever. I have to know all of the outcomes before I take a single step. And what if I take this step and it's wrong? Well, then you'll stop and you'll pivot. And there's so many pivots available, but I thought I had to know everything from the start. And now, like, my business is where it is because of many, many pivots and quantum leaps along the way, and moments when I like started Designed by Jo in this rush of urgency. But then even with surviving a brain tumor and all of that motivation that you would think would fuel the tank forever, I once again got complacent. And I hit an income ceiling, and I stayed there for like 3 years. And I was like, wow, I went from mediocre at a company to mediocre in my own company.
Yes.
Okay, I did not come this far to only come this far. And I had to make a pivot and look around and go, I know that this is not quite the life I dreamed of. I did a start, but starting isn't everything. Like, there's always a next step and a next pivot, and you got to set that next goal and go, what's between me and that? And I
so
made quantum
inspiring.
leaps.
Oh my God. You absolutely like, and this girl lives this. Like, I've met you a few times and she's like, all right, Leslie, hit this level. When you doing that one? When you doing that one? When's the next level? And I'm like, yes, I got it. Thank you. It's so awesome. And I love that you get to be that for women, you know, because it's like, if someone's got to be brave enough to show up at your front door with the mini iPad mini and the healing things, like Johanna's there to show up at your door and say, are you living ultimately yet? Are you ultimately at your top yet? If not, what are you waiting for? Like, it's amazing. So anyone who gets the chance to be with her is a lucky human being. We're lucky to have you. Maybe we'll have you back sometime. It's been amazing chatting with you. I could talk to you literally all day about this. If you guys like this podcast, I'm going to be bringing on Mo, who you actually met, who also had a spontaneous healing.
Yes.
So we're going to bring in all the spontaneous healing talks, and she similarly did the same thing. So, you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, you know, when you, it's what you believe, but I really love that you added in the hard work and all the other aspects as well in the surrender. So thank you, Johanna. You're amazing. We love you. Check out designsbyjo.com.
Nope.
Designed by Jo.
Designedbyjostudio.com.
Designedbyjostudio.com. That's Jo, J-O. You're amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks everyone for listening. And one last thing, what would you, for someone who is dealing with a diagnosis like this, what's one last thing that you would want to say to them, Johanna?
It's not over till it's over. And there is so much you can do about changing your story if you change your mind.
Oh my God, I can't even say anything after that. Thank you. It's amazing. I know like 3 to 4 people that I'm going to send this to. Thank you. It's not over till it's over. You can change your mind at any time. Love you, Johanna. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. And if you're ready to change your life and get the fear out of the way and let go of the attachment of food, body, and weight, you know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.